If you have been watching some of my study videos and what I've been working through and studying this year, you probably have noticed a theme, a pattern, that I really love the Daily Grace Co. So they had a warehouse sale, and they have had several sales in the past few months, so I have picked up a lot of studies, put it that way, a lot of studies, and most of these I got for $5. So if you wait until they have a $5 sale or their warehouse sale, where they sell them slightly imperfect, you can get some really great deals. No, the warehouse, oh my goodness, the warehouse sale, if I can talk today, only happens twice a year. So I believe it happens in January and July. So you won't see the slightly imperfect sales until this July, but you definitely would want to check that out on the Daily Grace Co. website. But they have a lot of $5 and $10 sales going very frequently. So just keep checking their website until you see those sales, and you can definitely get some great deals. So what I want to go over today is just a couple of studies that I haven't shown you yet that I'm going to be going through. Now, obviously, I can't do all of these right now because I just have to, work, eat, take care of my family, things of that nature. They're kind of important, so I can't do them all at once. But I just picked them up so when they were on sale, so I can just work through them at my own pace and just enjoy them that way. So what I really like about them is they have a lot of studies that go through like particular books of the Bible. So I like that. I like doing deep dive studies of books of the Bible. I showed in my other video that I'm going through Psalms right now. I'm still working through Psalms with my study books right now. I also showed you that I have Romans that I'm going to be doing a deep dive through here in the near future once I finish Psalms. So I'll just show you some of the other books that I have here. The first is Arise, and this is a study on the book of Nehemiah, which that is one that, yes, I've read through several times as I've done several Bible read-throughs, but I haven't really ever studied Nehemiah. It's not one that's really one that I've gone through like verse by verse and really studied. So I was excited to get this one. Now this was a slightly imperfect, and look, there's a mark on my spine here. That's literally it. So it was $5 on sale. It's normally $20. Oh, that's the retail price for it. It's usually closer to like 10, but it was on sale for $5. So as all the Daily Grace Co. studies do, there's a verse or verses for you to read, and then there's some devotional / commentary to go with it. And then there's going to be reflection questions. So this one is no different. You go through, so let's say I'm on week 1, day 4. I'm going to read Nehemiah chapter 2, verses 1 through 4. I'm going to read the content in the study book, and then I'm going to answer the reflection questions. Now these pages are glossy, so they're a little hard for this left-hander to write on without making a mess, so I do use a journal to record my answers. And then also if I wanted to pass the book on to someone else when I'm done, I can do that and they can get a clean copy for themselves. So super excited to study through Nehemiah. That's one that I have on my list here. Okay, I'm going to skip over this one just for a moment. And I'm going to show the next one is James. So this is a study on the book of James. The one on Nehemiah, I believe, hold on, before I get it too much farther here, they're all different lengths. This is a 5-week study. So there's 5 days per week, 5 weeks, so 25 days worth of study for Nehemiah. James is a little longer. I want to say it's an 8 or 10 week study, 8 maybe, 7-week study. So that's going to be 5 days per week, 7 weeks, so 35 total days of study. Their books are really beautiful too. So that's something else. They do have men's Bible studies as well. The content is the same, but the pictures are a little less flowery and girly. So guys, there is something for you at Daily Grace Co. as well. So what it's going to do again is you're going to get something to read. So at the beginning, they have you reading through the whole book of James and answering some questions. And then it's going to break it down. So just the first day of study here, or the second day, I guess, because you read the full book for the first day. The second day is going to be James 1:1. You read the study material and answer the questions. James 1, 2 to 4. So you can see this really breaks down the book of James, and it's almost verse by verse, or a couple verses, 3, 4 verses at most a day. So I really like that because it really makes you slow down and study a book instead of just, yeah, I read through the book of James, which is great, but if you don't understand or apply what you're reading, that's not super helpful. There's also weekly reflection questions for all of these study books. At the end of each week, you're going to go back and answer 5 or 6 questions just about your whole week of study. So that's James. I also have Ephesians here. Same idea. Just going slowly through the book of Ephesians. Like this day we have Ephesians 1, 1 to 2. And of course we have our commentary and our questions. And then we have Ephesians 1, 3 to 6. So again, I just really love how it breaks down these books. It gets you really thinking about it, gets you answering questions, gets you in your Bible. You can go through these studies with a great study Bible as well. So then you have your study notes in your study Bible, plus the content here. So kind of gives you a really, if you want to go really in depth, that would be a great way to do it. Okay, so these next two aren't specific books of the Bible. These are topical studies. So this study is on the attributes of God. So I'll just show you an example lesson or two here. So for example, for the introduction, they're having you read Jeremiah 9, 23 to 24, and then Psalm 27, 8, and then you have some material to read here. This is a nice chart showing you different attributes of God. And then you're going to have 3 reflection questions. And then the next lesson is Who is God? You're reading Psalm 86, 5 to 12. And then you have your content and questions in the book. So same idea as the others. This one's a topical study, so it's not just going through one book. It's going to use several different passages from the Bible to help you better understand the attributes of God. So that one is, I keep forgetting to tell you how long they are, and you can see this all on their website as well. But just so you know, this one's a 6-week study. I forgot to check for Ephesians. Ephesians is a 7-week study. Okay, and the last one that I picked up is Never Alone, Walking with God Through Depression. And I know depression's kind of something that's hard for us to talk about, especially as Christians, because we often think, I think that, oh, we're a Christian, we love God, so why would I struggle with depression? Like, I need to depend on God. I shouldn't be having these feelings. It's wrong of me. Well, no, we're going to walk through hard things in our lives. We live in a sinful, fallen world, and we're going to have emotions and feelings that aren't always happy and joyful, and, depending on what season of life we're in. There's nothing wrong with you if you're feeling depressed or having depression. You're not a terrible Christian because you're having those feelings. That always upsets me when I hear people talking like that. And I know sometimes it's just people aren't trying to be hurtful to each other or to themselves. It's just a misconception, in my opinion, that, read the Psalms, read what David went through, read how he cries out to God. He goes through anxiety, depression, and he was a man after God's own heart, and he had these feelings. God himself called him a man after his own heart. So, sorry, I'll get off my soapbox now, but that's just one thing. It's very near and dear to my heart. I feel very passionate about, and I just wanted to state that as I showed you this study. So, this is called Never Alone, Walking with God Through Depression. And let's just go through a little bit here as well real quick. And it does have a little disclaimer at the beginning, which is, of course, very true. Any diagnosis of clinical depression must come from a medical professional, so you can't attempt to self-diagnose. This book is just something to enhance your relationship, prayer life, study time with God if you're walking through these feelings. But, of course, you need to consult a medical professional if you are struggling. So that's just a little disclaimer in the beginning, which I totally agree with. So we have an introduction. We're going to read Psalm 102. And then we have, again, just like the other books, exactly the same format. All the Daily Grace Co-books are like that. You have some content to read, and then you have some reflection questions. So the next day of study is Why Do We Have Depression? It gives you several verses to read, and then goes through the same format. And you're also going to see some characters in the Bible who have also walked through these feelings and struggles. And this is Elijah's story. So it has you reading 1 Kings 18 and then going through and talking about that. More of Elijah. So there's several days focusing on Elijah because he was a big part of the Old Testament. Weekly reflection questions. We're going to go through Hannah, who was the mother of Samuel. So that's in 1 Samuel. And I love how it has you going into your Bible and just looking up all these verses as you're answering reflection questions. I just think that's so important with Bible study. We have Naomi's story. Job. Job is a big one. He went through a lot. If you ever read the book of Job, you know. And like I mentioned earlier, David. I won't go through all of this, but more of David. Okay, so what I really like about this one, and I've just paged through this, I haven't started it yet, but what I really like about this one is how it uses real people from the Bible who went through real things, who were also close to God. So again, it just reiterates my point from earlier that you're not a terrible person, a terrible Christian if you have these feelings, because we all walk through hard times in our lives. We all go through seasons like this, and maybe your season is a longer season, maybe it's just situational, but it goes through using real people from the Bible, like David, who is a man after God's own heart, who went through these feelings, and just it makes it really personal and really, I think, can really connect with people who are hurting or struggling. So that is the final one that I purchased. So those are the studies that I have. I have several others in videos if you would want to go back to my previous videos and see some others. Not going to be able to do all of these at one time, like I said, obviously, but I'm just going through one at a time, just going through, and sometimes I might do, like there are 5 days per week, and I like to study on the weekends as well because I definitely have more time. So I might go through them a little quicker than what the timeline is in the book, but just kind of depends on my week. I'm hoping to pick up a couple more in the next sale, probably this summer. So I will come back and tell you about those then. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So I would love to know what you're studying right now. If you love the Daily Grace Co., if you have done some studies with them, which is your favorite, or if you have some other studies that have been going through that have been really great. I'd love to hear about that as well.